each other on the sessions begin, my session begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Juma. Thank you, Oumayma. So I think we can now begin. We were to begin at 8, but we can just begin right now. Our first speaker will be Oumayma.
Share the screen, please, and start recording.
Okay. Just a bit.
Monica, put it full screen, please.
Okay.
So, hello again. Today we will do this session. Sorry. Hello again. This is Oumayma Mhamdi. And today's session topic will be an introduction to Git, GitHub, and open source. I will start this session, then Monica, then Juma. The next slide. So I will start by giving the definition of Git. So Git is a version control system designed to make it easier to have multiple versions of a code base, sometimes across multiple developers or teams. It allows you to see changes you make to your code and easily revert them. Uh, Git is not GitHub. Uh, so what is a version control? So a version control system records all the changes made to a file or set of files, so a specific version may be called later if needed. The systems make sure that all the team members are working on the latest version of the file. This is illustrated at the image in the slide. So now we will move to the definition of GitHub. So GitHub is a website that hosts Git repositories on a remote server. Hosting repositories on GitHub facilitates the sharing of code bases among teams by providing a GUI to usually fork or clone repos to a local machine. By pushing your repositories in GitHub means your work, your project folder. You will pretty much automatically create your own developer portfolio as well. So now we will move to how to install Git. So you can go to the browser and just tap Git download. You can easily install it. Monica, please, I will share my screen to show them how to install Git.
Okay.
You can stop sharing. Just I tap in my screen, I will git download. There. I have Git installed in my laptop, but you can choose your your OS. So you can use Mac OS, Windows, or Linux. So, for example, I have Windows installed in my laptop. I can do this download. I can click on download for Windows. 64-bit Git for Windows setup, and the download start. After the download ends, you can just click next, and you will have Git installed on your laptop. That's all. So Monica, share your screen, please. Now we will move to configuring Git. So you can add your username and your user email just by, for example, to add the username, you can tap the command git config. You can go to git bash and tap git config global. Git bash means the terminal of Git. You can tap git config, for example, to set the username, git config double hyphen global and your name. For example, here I am Oumayma Mhamdi. I will tap git config double hyphen global user point name Oumayma Mhamdi. The same for the email address, but you will replace user point name by user point email, and everything will be configured, will work well. So now I will move to show you how to connect Git with GitHub. So in order to prevent having to enter your password each time you push up to GitHub, you must configure Git and GitHub to recognize secured shell keys that you generate. You can understand me just a bit. Monica, please stop the sharing. I will share my screen.
Okay.
So here I am in my GitHub account. So I will get to settings and then SSH or GPG keys. Now here I have an SSH key named home desktop. If you don't have an SSH key, you can create one by tapping new SSH key. This step is important because you have not you don't have to put your password every you have to know you I'm sorry. You don't have to put your password every you have you have not to put your password every once you will push your project on GitHub. That's what I mean. So Monica, please share the screen. So after after having SSH configured with GitHub, you can go to your project directory. For example, I have a project on my desktop named web app, for example. I want to put it on GitHub. I go to my project directory, which is web app. I open the CMD and tap Git init. This step aims to initialize a Git repository. Then we go to GitHub and create a new repository. I will show you how to do so. I will share my screen. Just a moment. So as you see here, I will tap new to create a new project. For example, I will name it web app. Create repository. Like this. So as you see here, this is the commands that you have run to put your project on GitHub. So you will go to the folder. For example, let's make a new folder. Name it. I will open Git bash here. It is the first command. Then git add readme. I will copy it. I will paste it. This git add readme is to add the readme file. You can use this command or you cannot, as you like. But the other commands are necessary. I will take and paste. Then you will tap git branch -m main, and the other all these steps you will tap command by command on the git bash, and you will get your project on GitHub. So that's all. We will move now to basic Git and GitHub workflow with Monicah. That's all. Thank you. If there is questions, you can ask me in the end of this session after Monicah and Juma presents their parts. You can ask me questions on my part. There would be 15 or 20 minutes to questions. Then I can respond to all your questions, or if there is anything not clear.
Thank you so much. Thank you for introducing us to Git and GitHub. I believe at least we have an overview of what Git is and what GitHub is and how they look. So I'll be taking you guys through basic Git and GitHub workflow. So from your just a minute. Okay, from your project repo on GitHub, you can navigate to the Issues tab and create a new issue. Then from the command line, use Git to create a new branch of master to make your edits to. Okay, so I think this will be, you guys will understand it better when we do it practically. I'm going to show you guys from my GitHub how we can create an issue and actually what it means when you create an issue. And okay, first I'll just open my Git bash, and I had a sample demonstration of how you can push maybe maybe we're trying to work on a website, how you can push it to your GitHub account from the Git bash terminal. And then from there, we can be able to now see how we come about this part of having an issue and how we can use and resolve it from our GitHub account. So I'll just go to opening the command line. I hope you guys can see my screen. So I'll just open Git bash. So this is the command line Oumayma was talking about. You can work from Git to your GitHub account. They actually work together. So you guys will get to see how Git and GitHub relate and how you can actually work from your Git account from the Git terminal and actually push your codes to GitHub. So here is a sample of maybe you are trying to build a website. And here I have my index.html. It was about a restaurant. So maybe you have your recipe and you had the logo that you used in designing your website. And so I can have this in my Git bash in my terminal. And how I can do this is I can look at the location it's in desktop and under presentation. So from my terminal, I type cd desktop. Then this main shows that I'm in the main branch. Actually, I am using the main branch is my default branch. So I'm working from my main branch. We'll get to learn about branches later on. And it is in desktop under presentation. So under presentation, yeah. So Okay, so from here I can be able to now demonstrate a bit of how, maybe let's say now from Git we want to take this code that we are working on to our GitHub account. So what you can do, maybe, okay, we have the secret recipe, we have the logo, the index.html, and we have the employee salary. So out of these, maybe let's say we don't want to share our employee salary to our GitHub account because it's something, maybe something private, you don't want people to know about employee salary, or maybe we even have at times maybe log files that we don't want them to be accessed by people. There's a way we can actually hide this and prevent it from being tracked when we send it to our GitHub account. Like when we type git status here, there's so many commands with Git. You guys will get to learn them as you get to use Git and GitHub. You'll actually learn these commands. When we type git status, it tells us that we're on the main branch, and it tells us we have untracked files, and these untracked files are the ones that we have here. So they're not tracked by Git. So we want these files to be tracked such that whatever changes we make from these files, we can be able to be tracked and be known as we progress with them, whatever we are going to be doing, or as we continue designing our website. So for us to, well, first we can begin by ensuring our files are tracked. But remember, under these tracked files, we don't want our employee salary to be tracked. So what we can do, you can come and add a new text document. Then you rename the whole of it to .gitignore. It will give you this prompt that it will become unusable, just accept it. Then after doing this, we can open it using Notepad afterwards. So what we want, we don't want to track the .txt file because it's the one that contains the employee salary. So we can add a comment that track the .txt file. Then we put asterisk .txt and save this. Yeah. So what this does, when we go back to our git bash terminal, when we type git status, we will see that we no longer have a .txt file, rather we have the .gitignore, meaning it will ignore tracking the employee salary text document that we have. Then from there, now we are going to move on to how we can, now we want to understand how Git works and with GitHub. So first, okay, we want these files to be tracked. By being tracked, like I said, we are going to be tracking whatever changes we make from in these files as we continue making our documents. Because it's important for us to track whatever changes we make in our files, such that I mean, when you track your files, you can always come back and see whatever changes you make. And also, when you track your files, you can always, with Git, you can always, whatever changes you make, you can always go back to them. And actually, suppose maybe you made a change that you do not want it to, like you made a change, but again, the change that you made, you want to go back to the previous version that it was in. So with Git, you can actually do that easily because it was already a file that is being tracked. So maybe it was, okay, let's say maybe there was a text that you changed and maybe you want to go back to it. Since it was being tracked, you can easily go back to the previous format of that text because it was being tracked by Git. So for it to be tracked, for us to track all these files, we can use a command git add. Then when we do git status, our files are now being tracked, and we are being told here that changes to be committed. We can use that. They're in the staging phase right now. So by doing this, so now we can commit now these files that we have made, these changes that we have made, they're now being tracked and they're now in the staging phase. So we can commit these files that we have made to our GitHub account. Okay, there's so many terms being used. We have Git, we have begun with Git add, Git status. There are so many, but like I said, as you continue using Git, you'll get used to them and actually get to learn what these commands mean. So that's the command I have used to check my status, and I can see that now my files are being tracked because I've added them to be tracked. Then now I can first, okay, let me say I can git initialize the one that Oumayma was demonstrating when we began, how to initialize and actually configure git in your terminal. Okay, I did not do that by putting my name and my email, but those are things you should do when you're using your git bash. So you can git initialize. When you initialize a repository in that location. So from this now, okay, let's say now we want to take this to our GitHub account. What you now do, you can come to your GitHub account. I hope from here we at least have an idea of what we are doing. We had our files, we've put them in our git bash terminal for us to, we can now see them in our git bash terminal. They were not being tracked. We need to track our files. Git helps us track our files so that whatever changes you make, you can always go back to them and actually see them. And also it tracks the progress of whatever changes you're making. You can, and by doing that, for you to track them, you type the git add command. You can check the status by git status, and you check whatever branch you're on, and it tells you no commits have been made yet, but it shows you the list of files that are being tracked as you progress with whatever you're doing. Then we can come to our GitHub account. So we want to push whatever we've been working on. Okay, we are pushing. So that's also again a new term to those who don't know. We now want to take whatever code we are working on. We want to take it to our GitHub account. Remember also the GitHub account helps build your portfolio. So we want to take this code to our GitHub account. You come to your GitHub account, then you create a new repository. It's always there. You'll see it new. So our repository name, okay, it was about a restaurant, so it's called Mr. Krabs Restaurant. So Krabs Restaurant. You can give a description of what your repository is about. You can make it public. By making it public, anyone can see your repository from the internet. Then you can add also a README MD file. A README file just gives a description of what your project is all about. Then you create it. After creating it, I believe you saw this from Oumayma's presentation. It shows you how you can create this repository from your command line. But remember, we just want to push. We've already initialized this repository from our command line. We just want to now push it to our GitHub account. And it shows your command of how you can push an existing repository from the command line. So we come back to our git bash, and this is the commands we're supposed to write in to push this, whatever we have been working on, to our GitHub account. So you copy, then you paste. So that's the first one. Then git branch main. Then you push to origin. To push some. Oh, sorry, we did not commit whatever we were doing. So, oh my God, git commit. So you commit. Okay, we can call it commit. Just give it a message, a text, or whatever you're doing, what it's about. So we are just the Krabs. So once you commit, then is when you can push it. Then so it's pushed to your GitHub account. So you see, you can be working from your device. You're maybe working on a website, so whatever your codes are just being saved on your PC. But if you want to save them now, when you can now take them to your Git bash terminal, then you push it to your GitHub account. So when we come here, when we come to Crab's Restaurant, we get to see that whatever we're working on from our PC has been pushed to our GitHub account, which is more secure, I believe, because now you have it, since GitHub is some of like a cloud storage. So even if you lose your work from your PC, you can always come back to your GitHub account and you get your work and actually continue working on whatever you are doing. So we see here we have whatever we're doing. You can see that we have that file. We have the logo. You can actually see the logo that you had. And yeah, so you can get to see whatever you are doing. So that's what you can, those are some of the things you can be able to do from your terminal. But then again, you can also work directly from your GitHub account. Some of the things you can be able to do from your the command line, you can be able to also do them directly from your GitHub account. So for example, from the presentation, so like we had here, from your repo project on GitHub, navigate to the issues tab and create an issue. So, okay, with GitHub, your code is accessible to anyone on the internet. So anyone can be able to see your code and whatever you're working on. So suppose maybe someone finds an issue with whatever you are doing, like I'll come here and in this website, it says we serve delicious Krabby Patties. So suppose someone wanted to add and say we not only serve the Krabby Patties, but maybe we also serve something else. Maybe we can say fries. So you can come to the issues, then create a new issue. So title, we can say add also serve fries. So you can actually give that issue, and you can assign the issue to someone. But since we have suggestions, I can assign it to myself. Then you can also leave a comment, and once you submit this issue, I mean, many people can come and actually leave their comments about that. So I think that's another advantage of using GitHub. When someone adds an issue, other people can come in and actually look at the issue and give their ideas on what they think about that. So you submit that issue. Yeah. So, and then now we have that issue created. So we want to try and resolve that issue. We come back. So it says we want to add that we don't only serve Krabby Patties, but we only serve fries. So you can come. Then so when I want to now solve this issue, I want to actually change this. What I can do, so I want to change it. Don't only serve Krabby Patties. It's the index.html. Krabby Patties. Or you edit Krabby Patties and fries. Then you can commit these changes by saying resolve issue fries. You can also add a description if it's optional. So I can directly commit this to the main branch, that is the branch I'm working on. But then I can create a new branch that will have this issue. So I can call this branch index.html. Yeah, so I can propose. Once I propose it, you will see, so it's in a different branch. When you're working with the Git and GitHub, you can have different branches. That's why they say it's a good tool for software development, because suppose maybe you are working on a website and you're not only one person working on a website, suppose maybe you are around 5 people, so you assign yourself different areas in the website to work on. And once, okay, maybe you can, so it's in different branches, so you create different branches for the same project. But at the end of everything, once you're done, because they're on different branches, once you're done, you can come back and merge these whatever you've been working on, and actually now create one website as a whole. And with this now, I was trying to now show you when you have an issue. So suppose you've already worked on something and you've pushed your GitHub account, but someone sees an issue and wants to and actually suggests on it, and you want to now resolve this issue. So once, okay, whatever I've done, I've already made the correction. So but I've made it on a different branch. So I want to merge this branch back to the main branch that contained the information on what initially was contained. So what I do is I create a pull request. Then once I create a pull request, it checks on the eligibility of whatever I'm trying to request, if it can actually be merged. So it's approved, and I confirm the merge, and it has been merged successfully. So yeah, I think that's good. So whatever. Has been merged. So when I'm merging this, there is this option here to filter, because it was resolving the issue that I had on, we not only serve Krabby Patties, but we also serve fries. So when I add that, so it will resolve that issue. So I think the issues now is closed. So it's closed because whatever changes we made, we have resolved, we have made the changes. So the changes we made, we have committed them and approved the merge to be made for it to close the issue that we initially had. I hope you guys at least have an idea of what I've done. So yeah, if you have an issue, if you get to go through some projects on GitHub and you find an issue, you can always propose the issue, and people can contribute and give their comments and opinions about it. Then, or maybe the owner of the repository can come and look at them. And if it's a public repo, you guys can be able to give your suggestions. Then they can be compared, and if you are assigned the issue, if you are assigned to solve the issue, and the owner checks that whatever correction you're making can be approved, they will create a pull request. If it's accepted, it should be merged, and then the issue that you suggested will be closed, and that helps in resolving whatever was being done. I guess I've given you guys a practical bit of how Git and GitHub is. So yeah, you commit whatever changes you make from the Git bash terminal. Always ensure you commit them before you push them to your GitHub account. These are the commands you'll be using to push them, and before you commit, then you push them. So yeah, you can see that on adding the issue and how we have fixed the issue. So this is mostly about what we have done. Once, for you to close an issue as with the pull request, you tell GitHub to do so by closing that issue number. So you see when you are merging that issue, whatever we had resolved, I tagged on and said that let it close on the issue that was initially proposed. Then we have Git branching. Git branch to view current branches in repo. From your terminal, you can be able to check the branch you're working on, and also you can create a new branch. The same way I said, when maybe developers are working on something, they can have it in different branches. So you can create a new branch by, this is the command git checkout -b, the branch name, and also you can switch to an existing branch by typing git checkout. You can also check a list of the branches by typing git branch, and it shows the list of branches you have. And finally, we have merging versus rebasing. This is okay, it goes more deeper than it actually is, but we have merging and rebasing. So with git merge, the same way, like when you have now the different branches and whatever they have worked on, they want to come and merge them at the end. So developers have worked on different stages or maybe different phases of a project, and at the end they're done, they want to come and merge. So okay, basically with git merge and git rebase, it's the same thing. At the end, they achieve the same thing, but they work differently. With git merge, okay, this is I hope you guys will actually get to have a graphical view of what I'll be explaining. With git merge, once you make a commit, like you have the first branch, let's say the yellow one now, it's on the merge side, this is a different branch. Let's say this is the master branch. Then as you continue working, maybe you decide you want to now maybe do something different, or okay, let's say you're working on a website, but maybe you want to fix a bug or something, so you decide to create a different branch. You don't want to work on the main branch because suppose you make a mistake on the main branch, which will affect whatever you are doing. So you create a separate branch so that when you're doing okay, you see, like when you create a separate branch, just getting you're just replicating whatever you're doing. You just create the same version of the website, but it's on a different branch. So you work on it on that branch. Once you feel like whatever you have done, it's okay now, and you're satisfied, you can be able to now merge it back to your main branch, and then maybe now, so it will be able to fix the bug, whatever you are doing. So that's with git merge. So you make commits as you make commits. The way I was explaining, you make commits. So you can make a commit, and maybe at a particular stage, you now feel you want to have a different branch. So the pink side demonstrates on you having a different branch again. So you work on that different branch. Then at the end, you come and merge them together. But with rebase, it works differently. And with rebase, it's actually advised for you to not do it when you're working with a group of people, because with rebase, it actually somehow rewrites history. It actually rewrites a new history. It doesn't give you a history of whatever commits or whatever stages you moved on in working, whatever you are doing. With rebase, if you have a commit and you decide to branch, you decide to create a new branch. Once you create a new branch and there's a command you'll be using. So when you git rebase, whatever commits you made, like let's say you had around 5 commits, whatever your last commits are the ones that are going to be merged. So your last commits are the ones that are going to be merged. So which is okay, like let's say you are in commit 1, 2, 3. Then in the third commit is when you now decide to branch. But when you do rebase, let's say if we're in the third commit, then maybe you have the fourth and the fifth. It will actually take your last commits and put them as the ones that your final based on. I don't know. Okay, it's somehow not easy to explain like this. I wish I could do practical, but we are somehow running out of time. But rebase, it's not advised for you to use it when you're working with a team, because it's not easy to track whatever you are. Okay, the previous commits, it's not easy for someone to track them. But with merge, it's easy for someone to actually have a clear view of whatever history you are doing. So it's better when you're working with a group of developers or in a team, you use git merge instead of git rebase, because git rebase will rewrite the history, but with git merge, someone can easily go back and track whatever you're doing. But rebase also has its advantages because you see the way it's somehow straight and linear, so it's easy to actually go back and follow it easily compared to git merge, whereby you have to check on the branches all the time. But it's actually advised when you're working as a group, don't use git rebase, but use git merge. But when you're working as an individual, you can use git rebase, maybe to make it easy for you. So yeah, so those are the pros and the cons for Git merge. Running out of time, so I think you guys can have an idea of what Git, the pros and cons are. So like with rebase, the pros, the advantages, instead of creating a merge commit, rebase will move the entire feature branch to start from the tip of the master branch by rewriting the project history and creating brand new commits for each commit of the original branch. The result is a singular history with no forking of the commit history. So you see, it's something singular, easy to track and actually get to know them. The cons of Git rebase, that is the disadvantages. Because it rewrites the project history, you lose the context provided by a merge commit. That is, you won't be able to see when upstream changes were actually integrated into the feature branch. So it's not advisable because it rewrites whatever you're doing. So you cannot easily track whatever commits, whatever changes you made before. So maybe as an individual, you can easily track them because you're working on it alone. But when you're working as a group, they cannot easily track whatever you did. We also have merge conflicts. This is the final one. So with merge conflicts, the same way I was doing merge, because when you work with different branches, but we can have merge conflicts arising when, let's say you've made a separate branch, the same way I was trying to have the one for Krabby Patties. So it's that I made it was on a different branch, and they made a change on that branch. But then again, remember I had the main branch. So I make a change on the main branch and again make a change on the other branch I create. When you try to merge these two branches together, there will be a conflict. So a conflict will actually arise because there are changes. You're working on two branches and you're doing different things on the two branches and you usually want to merge them. Because you see, when you do a branch, you have, yes, your main work. So you only work on that branch that you created, the one branch that you have created. So once you're done with this one branch, is when you can actually bring it back to the main branch and create and merge the two. But when you work on the main branch, again, you work on the branch you create. Let's say you have the master and the main branch. If you create maybe the main branch from the master branch, you only work on the main branch to do the changes. But if you do master and main, then work on both the master and the main branch and try to merge them, there'll be a conflict. But this conflict can easily be resolved. Git always gives a detailed explanation on, you can actually track, and it explains and shows you whatever conflicts that are arising. Also, when you do it from GitHub, it shows you where the conflicts are arising from. I think that's all on whatever we have done for now. But yeah, Git and GitHub have a lot of commands. As you continue working and doing your codes from your terminal and from your device, you have them on your terminal and push to your GitHub account, the flow becomes easier and you get to understand how to do the branches and how to make the commits and push them to your GitHub account. So that's all for now. Thank you. I think we'll now move to Juma handling open source.
Yep. Hope you can see my screen on your end. Confirm you can see my screen on your end.
Yes, we can see it.
Hello.
We can see it.
On my end, I'm going to take. Yep, thank you. On my end, I'm going to take you through how to contribute on open source. So I'll take you through on how to contribute on open source. As I introduce myself, Juma. I'm an electrical engineer, product manager at Space Tech, a customer care attendant, and a front end developer, and both a tech enthusiast. That's all about me. So the agenda of today is talk about open source. First, we'll try to get to know what is open source, why to contribute to an open source, what does it mean to contribute to an open source, orienting yourself when you get an open source itself, and finding project contribution in open source, then how to submit contribution, and what happened after you've managed to submit your contribution to open source. Just on my few definition of open source. Open source can be defined as a freely characterized software which is originally source code is freely available for distribution and modification by anyone. This means being an open source, which means anybody can able to restructure the code, can able to reuse the code, he or whenever he wants to use it. Then on the other hand, what is open source contribution? The open source contribution involves contributing to an or developing to an or improving a software that is originally in an open source environment. So the question begins: why contributing to open source? Yeah, there's so many reasons to contribute to open source. Yeah, one of the reasons could be certifying and learning, maybe to learn, to teach, or to gain expertise in most in the field one he or she is in. In this, I can able to quote Philip Hahn, who said, "The power of open source is the power of the people," which means the people's rule. So if you're talking about open source, which means it is belong to the people, and the people are able to control and to use it. Yeah, some reason to contribute to open source. That is improving your existing skills, meeting new members or tech or people who are in the same field that you're interested in, and finding mentors, and also be a mentor whereby you can able to teach others to contribute in your tech field. Is also an empowering. It's also empowering to able to make you change even the smaller changes that you can able to change. Learn to understand feedback, whereby in this case you're able to know when you're able to make a push. Maybe you've been given a feedback. It is either positive or negative. This is the way you're able to learn on how to understand the feedback itself. Improving your communication skills. Uh, what I mean improving your communication skills in this case, when doing an open source, know that you're not doing in as a self individual. You're doing as a community at large. So you're able to understand different people's language, and also able to master improve your own language when talking to different members of your community that you're able to contribute to their open source. So there's a question here: what does it mean to contribute? So if you're very new to open source contribution, at first it may be very scary, because finding the right project to be for contribution sometimes become very hard. Or sometimes you ask yourself, what if you're not a programmer? What can you do to an open source? What happens to yourself when they contribute, or something wrong to your code? You push to a code that brings up a conflict or a bad or a bug on the contribution that you've pushed. Then just an encouragement. Don't freak when you get to an open source. There are so many ways to participate in an open source, not only to code as a programmer, but also to do many other things that that are your interest. So in my case, I've got some of the reasons that you're able to contribute in an open source. Maybe assume that you like contributing on open source just means doing what you like. Mostly it's contributing to most of the things that you like doing it, or maybe that your passion that you are doing into it. Assume you're a designer, you can come up in an open source project just to restructure the layout or to improve the project that is being used, that is the usability of the project. If you are good in writing, you can improve out the project documentation. In this case, you can create the folder examples showing how to use the project, start a newsletter or about the project, or create highlight of the mailing list. You can write or translate the project documentation from one language to another. Maybe you're good in translation. You're good in organizing. You can check on how to maybe get a broken link or a duplicate a typo error, or making suggestion of good things that can able to be fixed or be organized on the open source contribution. Then you can able to, if you like coding on your end, you can able on an open source project, you're able to find an issue to tackle with, ask for help to write a new feature on an existing project. Is it you can come up to automate your project or set up a project, improving the tooling or the testing kit of the project. Maybe they're doing a test. You can come up to improve the test of the open source itself for the project. On the other hand, you can able to, if you like helping people or someone's talking. When you like helping people in your end, you can come up to ask questions about the project itself. On the end, you can be a moderator, or you can come up to and be a moderator on open source. Open source. Just this in this case, you can able to control the discussion board, the conversation that is being undertaken on the open source environment itself. Then the next step, you're going to take come and to look at how to find a good project or an open source project to contribute in. As of, on my previous topic, you are able to figure out how to get to an open source and how the open source itself it works. So it's time to find a project to contribute as an open source. It's open source. So there's so many ways you can able to find the links on how to control the open source environment or project you can able to contribute in. Over here, I've got some lists that you're able to get your open source environment or open source project that you're able to tackle with. These are the links mostly in the international links. On the other end, I've got some Kenyan and African place that you're able to get your open source. On my first end, you can able to, at the moment, as a part of an Space Tech, you're working as an open source project. You can able to come up and contribute on it. Savannah Silka is other part of it. It's also a place in an organization in Kenya that are able to contribute to an open source, which are very beginner friendly. Then Flutter Kisumu is also part of is also an organization dealing with mobile application using Flutter and Dart as the language. They're also coming up with with an open source whereby you can able to join, learn how to contribute with Flutter and learn the Flutter mobile part of it. Then there's a Arduino Nairobi, which deals with hardware part of it. So mostly they're dealing with Arduino boards. In this case, the other parts, the other organizations are mostly dealing with the software part of it, but the Arduino is open source hardware part of it. You're able to learn about the Arduino, learn how to code with Arduino, to code the Arduino board, then learn out the language that I use to code the Arduino. That is, they can be Python, C, C#, and many other languages that enable to contribute to code with the Arduino board. Then there is Chaos Project Africa. It's also an organization, an African organization that enable you that enable you to contribute to an open source environment. So before contributing, or before maybe you've already gotten an open source open source project that you want to contribute in. So there are some few checklists that you're able to come up before to contribute on the project. There's some few checklists you should check on before making yourself, or before coming or before contributing, before starting your contribution to an open source project. The first thing you'll go check the definition of the project. The definition of the project is being handled by the license. Maybe the question whereby does the project have a license? When you check on the license, is it able to, or is it allowing you to contribute on the project itself? Then you can also check the project itself, whereby is it actively accepting contributions. In this, to check if it's actively accepting contribution, you'll check. You look at the commits activity that is in on the main branch, or the default branch that they are having. You'll check the latest commit. You'll check the number of contributors on the project itself, if the project is on GitHub. Then the next thing, you'll have to tackle the issue part of it. How many open issues are there? If there are not open issues, you'll check, are there issues recently posted, or are there issues closed on the issue board of it? In this case, you're able to know if the project is well for contribution. Then after checking on the issue, you can also check. You can also go on the project pull request part of it. You can also confirm how many pull requests are there on the project. You can also check how many do maintainers respond on the project itself, or how many pull requests are there recently. Then you can also check if the pull requests are either closed or open, kind of it. In this, on the other end, you can also check if your checklist is okay, or on the checklist that you're able to tackle is okay. You can also come check the project itself. Is it a welcoming project that will enable you to contribute? Do maintainers respond on questions when there's a discussion on the discussion board? Are the people friendly on issues being raised on the project? Do pull requests get reviews? In this case, you can able to gauge yourself if the project is very welcoming for contribution. So when you get you're able to check all the contribution checklist that you're having. So it is time to tackle your issue and able to make a submission. Or how do you find yourself? How do you submit an issue of the project that are able to get onto it? Talking about submitting a project, in this case, there's so many, or there are few issues that are able to tackle on it before submitting. So checking on submitting part of it, you're able to have a good communication skill or communicate effectively when making a pull request. So in this case, you've cloned the project itself, and you're able to you're able to make changes of specific issues that you're able to tackle with. Then you've pushed your changes to the repo, which I'm talking about, the main repo that of the project that you're tackling. Maybe on your commit message, you'll have a good commit message that will able to prevail the in a simplest way, or in an understanding way of what you were tackling with. Maybe what changes are able to you are able to make on your issues. In this case, you are able to elaborate or give a good context of what of what was there before and what changes you are able to make, and also give a test. You can also give an explanation of the text that you made, if the test passed or not. For communication, for a particular project that is an open source, for this you'll make your contribution, your communication to be publicly. It is not a way that you're going to for a private. Maybe you got a maintainer, then you want to private chat him or her for maybe for the changes that you made up on your issue. It is advisable to put all the communication in a public way so that you can able to get also feedback from other contributors on the project. So you can able to understand on different perspective of each of each message that you're able to put outside there on your issue. Maybe when before tackling an issue, you can able to start a conversation. Maybe you can check on the issue board and see how many issues are there open. On this case, if you get an issue open that you're able to tackle, you can start a conversation just to discuss what you are able to tackle on the issue, or if the issue has already been assigned to someone. You can make a pull request, but the pull request will not be either an already done work. You can have a draft pull request. In this case, just to show that you're tackling on the issue. Then for communication, you can for good communication skill on a open source contribution. If you see an open source issue or you want to tackle, it is good to comment on the issue to let people know that you're tackling on the issue. That way, people are, in this case, you are able to reduce duplicates work, then also reduce the conflict that Monicah was able to talk about. So other contributors will be able to know that you are tackling on this particular issue. Then if the issue was recently open, it is possible for you to address someone else or already been resolved. Then you can also to comment just to ask confirmation before you start working on an issue. If the issue is open or the issue but has been figured out to be answered on later on your own, comment on the issue so that let people know that, then close the issue. Even document that the outcome of the contribution that of the project that you worked on. So after tackling the issue, it is time to make a pull request for the issue to be submitted or to be merged to the main project. So the reason for submitting an issue is it is able to submit a fixed issue that are tackling, that you are tackling it. where on this issue could be either be a broken or a broken link, a typo, or you are implementing a new feature that could be able to progress on the project. A pull request does so for my notes that the pull when making a pull request, the pull request that should not be or must not be a finished work. For a big project that is contributed by many, it is an advisable part of it to make a pull request earlier so that people can give you a feedback or people can see your progress that you're working on, so that they can give you feedback or they can give you suggestion on how to tackle the issue that you are working on. Then for the making a pull request, there are some logical that you are able to tackle. You first fork your in the repo to be, maybe it is on a different organization repo. Then forking it will bring it to your personal profile. Then you can clone the repository to your local machines, create a branch of your issue that you're tackling. Then after tackling an issue, making a submission of your pull request with a reference of the issue that you're tackling with. You can either making a pull request. You can also include a screenshot of the before and after of what you are tackling on the issue. You can also include the changes that you made on the issue, and also if you tested your contribution or what you're able to change. You can also give a procedure on how you tested it and how your test passed. So contributing in a style of a project, it is the best of your ability. So this means that you're using to semicolon or comments differently than what you could be able to do on your own, but makes it very good on the project. So just winding up, you've already made your pull request. So there are some few things that you expect to happen after you're submitting your contribution. In this case, you can get when submitting a contribution, you can either get a response of your feedback. You can either get a response of your pull request. This means someone reviewed your code, or someone reviewed the changes that you managed to change, or even someone didn't make made a review or commented on the pull request that you managed to push. On the other end, you're able to not to get even a response. For even after contributing, you can either stay even a week or month. Someone did not respond in your contribution. So as I said earlier, when you know a maintainer or a reviewer on the repo, it is a good thing you can mention them on a pull request part so that they can review your pull request. Then you also make your communication publicly. That this you can do it on your comments, either by mentioning the person or asking anyone to make a review of your pull request that was done. Then on the other end, you can also expect your contribution to be declined. So in this case, as I said, the purpose of also contributing, you also learn to take feedback. So in this case, what happens when your project is not accepted? Maybe they could leave a comment to tell you why it was not accepted, or maybe your issue was tackled earlier and was publicly done by someone else in the earlier PR. So in this case, what I can say, for accepting or tackling feedback, it is a good thing to accept the decision being made by the maintainers who have given you a feedback, either to decline your pull request. So the other response you can able to get that your contribution was accepted, that your PR was accepted and merged to the project. Being merged, this means it is your first contribution. You can say it that you can make it a celebration to that you've done your first contribution. Just to wrap up, yes, you did it. Be it your contribution was accepted or denied or not, or accepted or being denied or being in progress of being accepted. Yeah, you did it. You did it your best. So even if your project wasn't accepted, don't forget to say to appreciate the maintenance for an effort into helping you. As an open source, as the open source is made by people like you, only the issues and pull request comment or high five at times. So I could welcome any question for my presentations. Any question?
Thank you, Juma. So anyone has a question to Juma from Juma's presentation, or mine or mine, you can ask.
Just to show up what Monicah was doing about branches and tackling issues. Oh, my other screen is able to be is also visible.
Yes.
You can see my GitHub ama vitu zingine.
Hatunaona. We can see it.
So just as Monicah was talking about branches, so you can see we have got different branches. This means for like here you are tackling these are an open source project by Spezia Tech. For this one is a React team tackling a React project. So on your end, you can see these are open issues that people can able to tackle on. So you can also on the other end, you can also see these are closed issues that have been tackled. And talking about pull request, on my end, I'm a reviewer. I just nililenga just to show you about this one. So when tackling on an open source contribution, it's good when choosing an issue, you can work it on a different branch, then making a pull request with the same branch, but maintaining pushing back to the main branch with your own different branch that you're able to tackle with. So I think you are able to understand about the branches, how to you have seen the issues, and how to make pull requests on the on an open source project. So, was any question?
Another question on Git, GitHub, and open source.
And if anyone has an interest on joining the current open source that you are tackling, that is in Space Tech, maybe I can share a link for you to fill in and onboard you to the project if you're into the open source.
From my GitHub, I can see
I'm
some
sharing
people already giving me. Oh, Juma. I see people giving me already issues. Maxwell, you have a question? Joshua?
I'm asking, after submitting, let's say, your idea to that platform, is it for community contribution or it is even for some payment?
Juma, I think you can take this.
Are you talking about the Space Tech because there are so many open source contribution, and many of them are voluntarily taking as your personal time. So like the one that you are tackling,
yes,
it is not a payable project at the moment. It is your personal initiative to contribute. Either you come in to learn,
yes.
because at first I also shared with you many reasons at why people join the open source project.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you find a larger project na you have done good.
Yes.
Good. You have tackled so many issues. Maybe they can also onboard you to their project, and also be a payable project on your end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for now, this one is so Space Tech is a community contribution or just for your own benefits?
For Space Tech is either tech organization, is an open source tech organization community that bring up those who want to strive in the tech community in large, be it a beginner, intermediate part, or the expertise part.
Yes.
So the beginner, you can come in as a want to learn. Then expertise, you can come in as even as a mentor, because there is a mentorship program still going on too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I've gotten it now. Thank you.
Nice. Maybe if you're interested, you can be also interested to join. I'm utaki to join.
Nani mimi?
Ama uko ndani?
Siko ndani bado.
So if you're able, if The
Yes,
form you can able to fill. If you want to join the space tech, I've shared the form, you can fill it.
you have shared
Yep,
in the chat
on the
box.
chat. Yes. Yes,
Wait,
Maxwell.
wait.
Gabriel, you have got a question?
In the chat box.
Yes, I have a question, but my question is not under open source or those basic texts. But my question was on Git and GitHub. I think I will direct this question to Monicah and don't know Oumayma. Yeah. So my
Yes,
question
Gabriel.
was, my question was that I have a few questions here I want to put across. So let me just summarize them all and then we'll handle them one by one. So number one, I wanted to know, how do you find a list of files that have been changed in a particular commit? And also, I heard Monicah talking about Git workflow. And I wanted to know some of the advantages of working a workflow and also how to revert a previous commit in a Git. And my last question was on Git branching strategy. I didn't clearly get on that, on Git branching strategy. So I think Monicah can come up again on Git branching strategy. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know. Oumayma, is there something you want to add to that before I respond to him?
I have a bad internet connection, so I don't hear it well. I hear the last questions that are directed to you, but questions directed to me, I don't hear them. If you can, Gabrielle, you can send me message in the conversation here. Send your questions as a message and I will reply to you.
Okay. Gabriel, I think I can do a short demonstration on that. Let's do on tracking. Okay. Let me share my screen. So, okay, let's say suppose we want to track the changes we have done to a file. So, for example, the one on let's have this file. So our index.html. Okay, let me just open them from the terminal. So it was in our desktop. So then yes. So here we have our file. So we have let's say we make a change in the index.html. So we can just directly access whatever is in index.html from the terminal by using a command vi. So vi index.html. So we are in the index.html file. So suppose we make a change. So for you to make a change inside here, you shift and I to insert. So we can now make a change in this file. So let's say we change and make we serve Krabby Patties, the changes we made initially and rise. Then escape, shift, colon, then WQ. Then when you type git don't think if it was tracking. Oh yeah, it shows you there's a modification that was made in the index.html file. So Gabriel, I think that's a way you can be able to see a change that you made. So do Git, it shows you the difference you made. So initially it was we serve Kirby patties, then we've changed it to we serve Kirby patties and fries. So once you're sure with this change and you want to commit it and you want to make these changes, when you can commit it, but because for now it's still in the staging, we haven't committed it yet. So once you feel this is what you want to commit, then you can do this change. Then I think you asked something on branching. So what was it on branches again? Come again.
I said that I didn't get it clearly on the Git branching strategy. So I just interested a light explanation.
Okay. Like the way Juma shared the screen, we saw, like, I think there's a project he opened. There were 5. Someone can hear an echo. So on branches, I think there's a project that Juma opened. There, I think he had around 5 branches in it. So with Speciatech, it's open. They have open source projects. So we have people can come in and contribute. So you see, Gabriel, like I was saying, like the sample I've shared here, this sample website for the restaurant. Suppose we have a team of developers working on it. Let's say we have maybe around 5 developers. We want them to work on different issues. Let's say maybe one is working on maybe improving a part of the website. Someone is maybe working on fixing a bug. Someone is maybe working on implementing a new feature in the website. So those are different activities. We are assigning them to different people, but we would like for these activities at the end, we actually come and merge them together in the website that you are making. So you create different branches for these one website. Like suppose, like you see this presentation I have here, this website here. When we create a branch, I showed you something. Yeah.
Maybe I can show a sample of the branches on my end so that anaona vizuri.
Yeah, show him the branches so that you can see how it works when you have branches.
So Gabriel, you can see this is another project that I've opened. So on this project, you have got four branches, but only the three are the main branches. So like here, kuna this pull request here, the features CSS and variable. That is a branch mtu ametengeneza for the pull request. I think that one was done. So most of it like here, kuna it is good to name a branch with a particular name or a particular action issue that you're implementing. So like here, there's an issue on how to add the feature, the variable into the project. So that was a branch that was made for that particular issue, so that you can able to be merged on the default branch that you have named it as a pre-dev branch. Sijui hapo kama umeelewa vizuri. Gabriel?
Yes, I'm getting it.
So sijui kama my point umeelewa. So
yes.
assume I pick an, pardon? So assume I pick an issue here On my end, I can check out a branch with the same
Yes,
issue that
nimeelewa.
nice one.
Yes, Gabriel. So yeah, that's how branches work. Also with asking you if you can go back to how a previous file was. I think there's a command for that. You just go back to how the previous version of, okay, let's suppose you, before you make a commit, or even after you make a commit, maybe you want to go back to like the changes we made for the website. You can actually go back to how it was. It's I think git restore. Also, apart from git restore, suppose if you already made that commit, there's also again a command you can use to prevent that commit, to remove the commit you made. So there are so many commands. There's a git sheet for it. So you can just, I think I
You
can
can
share.
also check on another check with git log just to see what the changes he made, and then want to revert the also git revert to get the specific commit yenye ulikuwa unataka ku revert on.
I hope that gives you a better understanding.
Yes, but you haven't exhausted my question.
Which one?
I was asking about the advantages of
The advantage of
our flow.
having a workflow with Git and GitHub. Like when you like I said, when you work with Git and GitHub, so you can we had someone is asking if you have an Android developer here. When you're working with Git and GitHub, remember when you make your changes to Git, okay, when you take your codes to Git, they're actually stored in Git, and then you push them to your GitHub account. They're even in the cloud. So even when you lose your work, you can be able to get it back from GitHub. And having a GitHub workflow is that, like I said, when you make commits, you get to it stores a history of how your work has been flowing. Like I said, when you're building, okay, like the one when we're building the website, when we made the changes on having, when we made the changes of changing it from having, we don't only serve fries, but Krabby Patties, but we also serve fries. So when you make this commit, it keeps a history of whatever. Once you merge whatever changes you've made, you will have a history of what you had before. So you can actually see what you had before, and so it gives like you have a detailed of explanation of how your work how your project has grown. So you see from the first stage whatever commits you made, how it was, and how you developed and actually came to an end of actually working to your project. Even when you do with the branches, the way we said you assign different developers a role. So you see, once we come together, once they're done and we actually get a pull request and we merge it together, we get to have a history of what has happened on how we have built and actually worked on whatever we were doing. So even when you're given a project, whenever you want to make any changes or whenever you want to understand something, you're actually able to see the flow of how the project was developed, what changes were made, what improvements were made, and actually what changes were made that maybe you want to go back to or revert to. I hope that gives an idea of why we need a good Git, the advantage of a Git workflow. Gabriel.
Yes, right. Thank you.
I hope you're satisfied.
Yeah, 101%.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So I guess we have come to the end of our session. Oumayma, we have Oumayma with us.
Yes, I am with you. I
Maybe
still
you
here.
can, okay, you can maybe say something. Oumayma, I think you guys speak, it's French. Oumayma.
Yes.
So yeah, you in Tunisia you guys speak French. It's French.
No, we speak Arabic.
Arabic or Arabic. So
Yes.
yeah,
We don't speak English.
that much. Yeah. So but we thank her for having this session with us and actually making an effort to take us through it in GitHub. So would you like to tell us something before we finish up?
So thank you, Juma. Thank you, Monica. And thank you to all the participants. I hope you enjoy the session and you enjoy the topic also. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. And Juma, Maima, could you please share your email?
Yeah, on my end, I want just to thank you for your taking your time for the session, and hope we'll do this next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you want another session about another topic, you can tell Monica if you or tell us if you have some topic in your mind now.
Yes. Maima, can you share a way in which they can reach you? Oh, okay. She has shared
Yes,
it.
I share the mail.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so that's then. Thank you to those who have stayed with us till the end. Some joined and have left, but thank you. I hope you guys now have a good overview of what Git, GitHub, and open source is all about. They're very important. Very important to know this. Most of the slides I saw, they'd say Git and GitHub are developers' best friends. So for you to be a good developer, you need to have a Git, you need to have good understanding of Git and GitHub, and also be an active contributor in the open source projects that are available. I see Space Tech has a lot of them, so you guys need to get to interact with Juma and get to know the open source projects available, how to be a contributor, and maybe he can also be a mentor to you and show you guys more on how you can actually be more comprehensive with Git and GitHub. So thank you. That's all. I'll share the recording with you guys. Okay, bye. Anyone else with something to say?
Bye.
Bye.